right, so welcome. My name is Ann Fawcett, and I am the Director of Admission here at Maur Hill Academy. Thank you for joining us tonight for Affording Boarding School webinar, and so we're excited to have you guys. So just a few minor things. I will be also sharing my screen to kind of go over slides with all the information. I am recording this so that afterwards I can email it out to everyone registered, and then we will be posting this on our YouTube channel so that in case you want to refer back to it, or if you miss this, then obviously it's great that you can watch it later. And if there are any questions at the bottom, you will see a Q&A. Feel free to please post questions in there throughout the webinar, and at the end, I will try to cover them as best as I can. All right, so with that, I'm going to start by sharing my screen. Okay. So again, my name is Ann Fawcett, and I am the Director of Admission here at Maur Hill Academy. We are a Catholic boarding school located in Atchison, Kansas. We are just north of the Kansas City metropolitan area, Kansas City Airport, in a more rural setting of a town of about 10,000. I just wanted to quickly show this is our entire campus. What's really great is that we do have a lot of space. We do sit on about 95 acres. In the middle there is our academic building, and it's in the shape of a Benedictine cross. We are Order of St. Benedict, so we were founded by the Benedictine sisters and monks starting in 1863. So we're definitely a very old school with a lot of rich history and a lot of great traditions. And then over on this side, we have two residence halls. So this is our boarding side. So we have one residence hall for boys, one residence hall for girls. We do have behind the academic building is our gymnasium where we play basketball and volleyball games. And we have also a graduation ceremony, fun events, things like that you normally have in a gym. Down this brick building over here is our recreation center. So we do have a recreation facility on campus with free weights and some machines, and then an indoor track. It also houses our art studio and then practice wrestling facility. And then over on the other side is our dining hall that was actually just redone just a year now. So this is our whole campus. You can see we do have our athletic fields on campus. We have everything except girls softball. We do use the fields that are in the city. And then girls swim, we do take the girls down to the YMCA for practice down there in the spring as well. But everything else is here on campus. So you can kind of see our facilities there. So first, kind of what I want to start with before diving into financial aid and scholarships is, affording boarding school. I think a lot of times families, they see one sticker price and they get really nervous. And, there are things that, you see what you're paying for of a boarding school, and then there are things that you do not see of what you're paying for in a boarding school. And so it's, really important to kind of understand that and also see kind of like what is also the value of a boarding school. There are great values, benefits to having your child here. And, being in the Midwest, because of our location, we are definitely a little bit lower of a cost in comparison to boarding schools in larger cities and then also on the coastal areas. So it's not really anything against, the quality of education. Our quality of education is very, very good. It's purely because we have, our location. Just Midwest is definitely lower cost of living. So the things what are you paying for at a boarding school? So there are some things that you can see, obviously, like if you're, I just showed you pictures of campus, so you can see our academic building. You can see, obviously, we have teachers, we have, administration that runs it, the student dorm rooms, that's where they're living, their meals, we feed them every single day. Our resident staff, we have resident staff that is here 24/7 watching your child and making sure that they are doing well. Extracurricular activities, all of our athletic fields, our performing arts, we have a great auditorium, any of our clubs and organizations, these are things that are all in that inclusiveness of our cost. And then just the overall campus facilities, that brick and mortar that you actually visibly see. So those are, the things that you kind of see, obviously, as a parent, what you're paying for from the visual standpoint, and still trying to figure out the cost. But the things that you cannot see that your child might not have right away, an incoming freshman, even sophomore, they are young. And these are things that are huge advantages at a boarding school, and your child will develop and become, a better person. They're going to develop independent skills. They'll have self-discipline. They'll be more mature than their peers who are day students. Boarding students definitely adjust better when it comes to transitioning to college, as far as like social life and being responsible and on time and time management skills. They'll have more critical thinking development. Being a Catholic school, it is important that they have a spiritual growth. The overall health and well-being of your child will definitely be, a top priority of ours. The networking opportunities of going to a boarding school, I will say, meeting our alumni, they will do anything and everything that they can for a fellow graduate of Maur Hill Academy. And that does really set you apart and can really help you when you're trying to, get an internship, get a job, get a little bit further in your career, and having those connections. And we have alumni all around the world and the United States since we've been a boarding school for over 150 years. And just the ambition, we find boarding students have a little bit more ambition and drive when it comes to looking outside their comfort zone. And it might be a college that's a little bit more difficult to get into, has a lower acceptance rate. It could be just pushing themselves in classroom, or maybe applying for something or trying something new, but we definitely see them having a little bit more ambition. And those are minor things that set you apart, that you don't really see that when you see a price tag of a school. So we always want to make sure that you understand what are the things that you don't see. And this is these are great examples. So then I also want to kind of show you guys the comparison of costs. So again, this goes back to, you see one price and you see and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't think I can afford that. But in reality, most of our families, they're already looking for probably a private school. They probably came from a Catholic grade school, or they're used to a private education. And so they're still already thinking, my child will go to a private high school. And, we just want to make sure and remind you some of the things that under our tuition that's covered under boarding are things that you're probably already paying for. You just have never maybe put it down on a piece of paper. So what I drew up was just kind of the average cost of a Catholic or private school. This is a day school. So this would be a day school. And I kind of went over just Midwest costs. So Midwest, on average, tuition, you might pay $10,000 to $17,000 in just tuition. That's just your academics alone. And, but if you're from the coastal areas, or even international, you might be paying quite a bit more for a day school. Food, this probably depends. And if you have a boy or girl, I'm sure boys eat more and cost more. But, the average to feed one child, to feed one kid per year is about $5,000 to $7,000. And I'm kind of going off of about a 10-month timeline. And then transportation. So whether that's you driving your kid, if that's your kid driving, you might have to purchase a third vehicle, car insurance, vehicle maintenance, those type of things. It adds up over the year. Most of our boarders do not have vehicles. We provide a lot of transportation for them. And so they don't really have to worry necessarily too much about that. Activities, this could be really school related activities, your essentials, like toiletries, clothing, things like that, personal items. So your range is already looking at, on the lower end, 22,000 all the way up to 31,000. It just kind of varies depending on where you're from and what you have going on. So in comparison to Maur Hill Academy, So for a domestic boarder, so that is a US citizen or permanent resident, even if you are a US citizen living overseas, your tuition is $26,250. This is for next year. This is 7-day boarding. Most of our families do about $1,000 of allowance. Comes to about $15 a week that we can help administer for you, as as kind of co-parenting. Essentials, this is things that you need for the dorm: toiletries, laundry, soap, some clothes, things like that, things like normal teenagers need. Travel, so travel, maybe okay, getting here to start the year, Thanksgiving break, Christmas break, if you go home, things like that, we just kind of throw in. So rough estimate of just over $30,000 for the year. And then for any of our international students, so international boarders, we sponsor on an F1 student visa. So the tuition is a little bit higher. It is $34,450. This does include your medical insurance. It does include if you are taking any English as a second language courses or needing any assistance with English support, or taking a TOEFL prep class. Also just in general international fees for the school so that we can sponsor you here. But then again, allowance, essentials, travel, and applying for a visa might be a little bit more. Usually our international families only go home during Christmas break. We are open Thanksgiving, spring break, Easter break, and for all of our boarders, and that's all included. And so your total is just under $40,000. But to kind of in comparison point out, just to remind you, under tuition for us, that includes your food, your housing, your transportation, your activities. That's kind of an all-inclusive cost. So, when you start looking and breaking it down from what maybe you could be spending as a day student, but adding in everything else as far as raising a child and getting involved in activities and the type of school you're going to pick, and then looking at us as a boarding option, the costs are reasonable. They're definitely comparable. And we do offer, and I'll get into it now, some financial aid and scholarship opportunities to try and help the families a little bit more if we can. So I want to say first, like financial aid and scholarships, just to kind of give you guys distinction. So financial aid is very need-based. And then scholarships, this is more merit. And so we do have kind of two separate type of applications. So if you're a family that is in need, whether it's a lower household income or something has drastically changed in your household and you just need a little bit extra help, we do have financial need. And this is when we look at, income evidence. There are applications, FACS, SSS. We have our own application. But some families fill these ones out and send it to us. We look at, this is you really taking a hard look at your family budget, you telling us what your need is. And this is something that we review every single year. So, we have to have families reapply for this every single year. And then comparison scholarships. So this is, your child's accomplishments in a sense. Are they academically bright? Have they taken standardized tests? Have they done well? International students, we look at your English proficiency. We look at your resume, what type of extracurricular activities have you done? Community service projects have been accomplished. Kind of that talent or promise of, how will you change? How will you make a difference here at our school? And is this the right, fit for you? And then also additional letters of recommendation and essay, and just kind of evaluating you as a whole. Before we even do offer financial aid scholarships, you do have to complete the admission process. So you must be admissible to Maur Hill Mount Academy. So first, the financial aid application that I'll go over. It is need-based. This is a completely separate application from admission. We have our own, like I mentioned. Right now, it is only for US citizens and permanent residents that qualify. We do require additional documentation for tax returns, your 1040 tax return, and then copies of your W-2s. And then again, financial aid is awarded for 1 year, so all families must reapply each year. For boarding students, for new boarding students, we actually don't have a deadline for any of our financial aid or scholarships. kind of work off of that rolling admission. If you're returning though, there becomes a deadline just for reapplying for financial aid. But as a returning student, we kind of handle that a lot internally in communication with you. So I do want to show you guys where you can find a lot of this information. So if we go right onto our homepage website, hopefully all of you have been on here and have found this very helpful. Everything is under admission. So whether you are boarding student or international student, everything is under there. For financial aid application for our boarding students, because again, it is only for US citizens or permanent resident, then you'll click on tuition and financial aid. This is all up to date. We already have our tuition set. So 7-day boarding is for next year, $26,250. If you are within usually an hour radius and you're interested in 5-day boarding, it is actually a little bit lower, $22,750. And then down here, you'll find information about scholarships and financial aid. So our financial aid application, your basic information is on here, and then your income, expenses, information that we will need. If there's anything else that you need to explain even further, you're welcome to submit further documents. The one thing that I do want to make sure is that all families who do fill this out, it is required that you put an amount here. This tells us that you've taken this seriously and you have looked at your family budget. It's very important to us that we understand what your need is. Otherwise, we don't know. And it's very difficult to try and figure out. And so we want to make sure that you have an amount in here. Okay. Let's go back. So the merit scholarship. So this applies to all students, both domestic and international and boarders. This is only for entering 9th and 10th grade students. So unfortunately, if you are an upperclassman or older classman, you do not qualify for merit scholarships. But if you are an entering 9th or 10th grade applicant, I highly encourage you to complete this, submit the documents for merit if you believe that you're at that caliber of student. So first, obviously, submit all of your admission documents. And then I would like to see a resume that shows anything and everything that you've already accomplished. If you've received academic awards, if you've done community service projects at home, if you've had leadership roles in the community or club or a sport, service awards, your activities, we want to know everything. In addition to your letters of recommendation that were required for admission, on the merit side, we want to have a personal letter of recommendation. So this is someone that really knows your character and who you are as a person. And so, we see these from like priests or pastors of your parish, a family friend, maybe you know a Maur Hill Mount Academy alum, a coach, a community leader, youth ministry leader, someone who can really speak to you and who you are more as a person, what you've accomplished so far, even as an incoming freshman. And then an essay. So this essay, though, this really, it only needs to be 250 words, but we want to know, how do you see yourself making a difference here at Maur Hill Mount Academy? We are investing in you. So whether it's the simplest things that you have ambitions that you want to, and goals that you have set over the next 4 years, we want to know. And we want to know, what can you bring to the table too? And so, these are things that we would put in, that you should put in the essay. And then also international students, though, you must meet the English proficiency level for mainstream classes. And if you have any questions about that, we do have on our website under international students, English as a second language and the requirements. So you do need to provide an English test score that is above the minimum requirement so that you are not enrolled in English as second language courses. Then a couple other additional scholarships that we do have. So if you are a legacy, we do have quite a few legacy students. So if you are a legacy student, meaning you had a grandparent, a parent, or a sibling attend one of the three institutions. So we are Maur Hill Mount Academy, but we used to be Mount St. Scholastic Academy and Maur Hill Prep. And then we joined in 2001 to become Maur Hill Mount Academy. So you might have grandparents, obviously, that went to one of the other schools, or parents, or maybe even probably not a sibling at this point, but most likely parents. And so this is no application required. We confirm this through your application because we do ask that. And then also, we can on our end too with our records. But this is just an additional $3,000 scholarship that is applied towards tuition. Then the Alumni Association does have a small $1,000 scholarship. This is for any student and every student. You just have to be new. It can be any grade, but you have to be new. And they do select 2 to 4 applicants. Again, being any student, we have day students that apply for this. And it is for 1 year of study. So this is just $1,000 just one time. They do have their own application and additional documents that you must submit. And so where you can find their application is still on the same page under scholarships. And then we have Alumni Association. So it kind of explains the scholarship and then what is required. So the scholarship application is right below, but it does require one of those one personal recommendation letters, but it must come from an alum. An alum who, again, was here either at Mount St. Scholastica, Maur Hill Prep, or Maur Hill Mount Academy. We only require one, but the association will read up to 3. And then a student must submit another essay if they're applying for this on what does it mean to you to be an alum of Maur Hill Mount Academy. So thinking a little bit more of the future of once you graduate. Everything is submitted to us. This one is an earlier deadline. This one actually has a March 30th deadline. So if you are thinking of applying for this, you want to start a little bit earlier. And again, it's for all new students. And then the application is just below. So those are the financial aid and scholarship opportunities that we have at Maur Hill Mount Academy. So before we get into any questions though, I hope that showing you guys and kind of explaining, the cost of boarding, the values of boarding, the benefits, looking at a school like ours because of, location sometimes might not be attractive, but then again, you're still getting a great quality of education. Like I mentioned, Order of St. Benedict, and the Benedictines are known for bringing education over to the United States. And so that the quality of education is very, very good. We've been established since 1863. We have alumni all around the world in over 75 countries, all around the United States, and who have become very, very successful. And so we always are very cost aware with our cost overall, with tuition and everything that encompasses with that. And then we do, having the ability to award financial aid and scholarships is, we know, very important to families as well. So with that, I will see if we have any questions, which it looks like we do not. I hope that this was helpful. Again, I'm Ann Fawcett. I'm the Director of Admission at Maur Hill Mount Academy. I encourage you guys to go onto our website, look at the application process. The application is open for the fall semester. And we do rolling admission, but we do like to have you complete everything as soon as you can, along with the financial aid or scholarship applications if you will be applying. We are open for visitors, for boarders who would like to visit. And we have been teaching in person this entire semester. And we will be on Christmas break soon, but we'll be back in January in person. I hope everyone has been able to stay safe and healthy. And with that, I'll sign off, but thank you so much for joining us. And you can always reach me here at Maur Hill Mount Academy, either by email or phone anytime. And thank you so much for joining us tonight. Bye.